Hi, I'm Sarah.
And I'm David. We are here with a finale interview for The Amazing Race 32.
But first, if you're new to this channel, please click subscribe and give this video a thumbs up.
And if you want to support us on Patreon, find the link in the description. All right, we've got the winners here, Will and James. Everybody say hello. Hello again.
Hello.
First off, congrats.
Thank you.
Hey. And congrats on the proposal.
Thank you.
We were floored. We didn't know that was coming. You guys kept the secret so well. And my first question is, Will, how the heck did you carry a ring box in your fanny pack this whole time? What?
You know, it was a challenge. I had it in my backpack for most of it, and it was very hard to make sure James never saw it, because after every leg we would dump out our bags, do our laundry, and I was very conscious the whole time, and I put it in the fanny just because this is the last moment, And I mean, honestly, I didn't even see it coming. Before helped me pack my suitcase, I knew what he packed. I mean, we coordinated outfits, so I felt like I knew everything in his bag. And then when we were running the race, Will never let me hold the fanny pack. Now it kind of makes sense. And then even then, like Will was saying, we would do all our laundry. Paris, though, Phil at the pit stop was like, "This is the city of love." And he kept mentioning it. And I was like, "Where are you going with this, Phil?" But then nothing happened. And I was like, okay, Phil was just giving those facts for the viewers and for us to know where we are. So it never dawned on me after Paris that this was even going to be a possible reality. So in that moment, it totally caught me by surprise. And
my favorite is
perfect.
His gurgling belly yes. He's literally sobbing and he's like, yes.
It was beautiful.
It was a very heartwarming moment, but I gotta say my favorite moment of the episode was the beignets moment. And was it really that hard to eat two? It sounds like James ate 4 beignets. There they are. Okay.
I'm making him make up for the 4 he didn't eat.
For the rest of his life, yes.
Oh my God. I ate so much of the king cake as I was going because it would get on your hands and you'd be like, okay, let me get it off.
But also you just wanted to eat it. Let's be real.
Oh yeah, because it's delicious. And so when we get to the beignets, the amount of powdered sugar on those things, I could never make any saliva. I could never swallow.
That's why I kept giving him water. I'm like, just drink the water. It'll go down easier.
It's literally like the cinnamon challenge where you are about to vomit from the cinnamon.
I mean, it looked like it from your perspective, but James seemed to be doing just fine.
And you just sat there the whole time.
Oh, I know.
I roll.
Sitting there cheering you on, being your biggest cheerleader.
Well, going into this final leg, you guys had just sort of come in second, right, to the McKibben brothers for 3 legs, I believe. What was your mindset of how do you go into this final leg and beat them?
There's actually a bonus clip on YouTube of our taxi ride from the airport to the Louis Armstrong Park. And we were so calm. I think going into this, we knew that we had done everything we said we were going to do to get to this point. That there was this weird peace over us that regardless of what happens today, we will be proud of ourselves, but let's win this thing.
Yeah.
And because of that calmness, I think it really helped us. And then when we realized we were in first, getting to that clue box, we were like, wow, we have a little bit of a lead. Now let's continue to keep doing what we're doing. And it just carried us all the way through.
Yeah, this entire we just felt like everything was fitting into place. All these challenges are things that I felt really comfortable with. The amount of just calmness there is not something that we felt at any point in the race. That for it to happen on the final didn't really have a moment where we struggled, minus the beignets.
And I think the last thing too, we knew that this was it. This was the final moment for us to really take in and appreciate this entire. Just have fun while we do it. No matter what we're doing today, let's just have fun.
Yeah.
You obviously had this incredible bond with Hung and Chi and the McKibben brothers, at least in terms of the race and the loyalty there. When did that form for the 3 of you?
So I think very early on, the first leg, we were all in the top 4 in Trinidad and Tobago. So when we got to the airport, there was a lot of downtime with our teams where we always found ourselves in the same corner or sitting together. And then going into Bogota, when we were all in the top 5 to leave the mine, we were like, okay,
more time for us to develop those relationships. And that's why you see in Manaus us pulling the beards aside and say, we want to work with you. Like, let's make this happen. Let's go all the way to the end together.
At the very beginning, when you like can't talk to the teams and you can't say anything yet, you haven't met everybody yet, you get really good at reading body language and reading people's faces, and you'd get winks from certain teams, and like Hung and Chi would like wave at us and be like, hi. And the beards would be like, hey, what's up? And like other teams are just like playing their cards really close. And we're just like, okay, we're getting vibes from everybody because it's the only thing you can do because you can't talk to each other yet.
There was really never a conversation between our 3 teams until the Paris train station before we left for Berlin. And all 3 of us huddled together around a heater at like 4:30 a.m., freezing our butts off. And we all said, oh, we're all here. Like, this is our moment to actually have this conversation. We want to be the top 3 teams, right? And we all put our hands in the middle and said, we're going to do this. We will cross the finish line.
And so the fact that they turned out to be super strong teams, did that ever worry you? Did you ever come to a moment where you were like, oh, maybe this isn't who we want to go up against in the end?
You can't just be like, I want this team to go. It's not designed to where
like, it's not Survivor or Big Brother where
you can vote people out.
Yeah.
So getting rid of weaker teams is easier. And yes, it makes more sense to bring weaker teams or to try to get to the end with someone who's weaker or hasn't placed as high. But it's very hard to do. If you're running the race and there's 3 teams together the entire time, and then there's a team that's 2 hours behind you, you have no control over people's day. And that's kind of what happened with a lot of the teams. Michelle and Victoria, 6 hours behind, the Blondes 2 hours behind most of the time. And because of that, we never really saw other teams along the race course. There was a week that we went where we never saw Haley and Kaylin. We didn't like have any moment or like conversation with them for at least 7 days because we hadn't seen them in so long. So super hard to have control over who goes home. I mean, 10 and 20 minute yields, like that's pointless. But it doesn't really do anything.
Also, I've seen a lot of conversation on Twitter about strong and teams that are weak. Like, from my perspective, when we were racing it, that is so relative. Both those terms, like, throw those out the window because the race is designed for any team to win. It really boils down to how bad do you want to be there? How much did you prepare to be there? And just how well you work with your teammate. Like, I would say the first few legs of the race, the placements were all over the place. It literally was anybody's race. You've seen Michelle and Victoria at the top quite consistently at the beginning. Haley and Kaylin got a 3rd place in Manaus. It really was anyone's race. Really ever thought, oh my gosh, we're aligning with stronger teams. It was just more so we all had the same mentality, the same approach to the competition. And that was to compete hard and have fun while doing it.
And it worked.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. And, you know, in that final challenge in the city sprint in Manila, when you were listening to that song, which I'm sure still haunts you, initially you two seemed like you wanted to do it on your own. Like, we don't want to work together. We'll figure it out. We're Will and James. We can do anything, which you can. But then eventually, obviously, you're working together. Was that more out of, let's just make sure we get to the finale? Or were you trying at that point to get Gary and D'Angelo out?
There are a few things about the pit start in the park. Phil made it very clear to us, like, don't help each other. Like, it really could be the end of your race. Will and I took that to heart because we're that close to the finish line. We need to be a little selfish and make ourselves the priority. Like, we have a dream, we have a goal. It's Will and James today. Yeah. When we got to that challenge, I know Will can say this, Madison approached him and said, let's work together. And
when they arrived, Madison was like, let's work together. And I looked at him and I go, I'm sorry, I can't, just because we really wanted to figure it out on our own. And then even Gary and D'Angelo were like, let's work together. And I'm like, no. Yeah. Because we really felt comfortable and confident doing the challenge. But after an hour and a half,
that confidence
2 hours,
started to go.
You're like, okay, now what do we do? Like, we're definitely not going to get this. And seeing everybody struggle around us was very defeating for every single team because we were like, we are very smart people. Like, why can't we figure this out?
And I think that's a misconception that I've actually seen on social media. Like, I think if any of our 3 teams really had this goal of like, we're going to work together, I think we would have worked together a lot sooner. Yeah. And then when you kind of put the stress aside and like really focus, we thought, okay, we reread our clue, but also at the same time, we still didn't know Paris. We didn't know Paris. But at the same time, our 3 teams we made a pact. Like, we really are that one team away from making this a reality. Why are we not putting our 6 minds together to knock this out of the park and accomplish what we set out to do?
Yeah.
So it was like a kind of like an end all be all moment for us that we had no other option.
Yeah.
Now, what do you guys say to the viewers who did not like this alliance?
I mean, love it or hate it, it clearly worked. And everything that we did or everything we set in place throughout the course of the race worked.
Yeah.
Like, we knew, we had confidence, we had prepared for it. We had studied different strategies of previous seasons. I understand that it's extremely polarizing, especially coming off Big Brother 22.
Hey, but we did it in 2018, y'all. It was way before.
Way before. But also, I think that the other misconception is that the alliance was responsible for eliminating teams. That was never the reason why an alliance was formed.
Yeah.
And none of the teams eliminated, from our perception at the time, was because of the alliance.
There's like a major context to this season where after leg 2, when they were both equalizer, going into leg 3, it's another equalizer. You have no advantage to coming in the top of the pack. And so now there's yields, which adds a social element, because James and I were like, we don't want to be yielded. We don't want to be U-turned. So we have to work those relationships. And then you're always tied for first place starting a leg. So it just became so prominent because you had to use whatever tools were available, and working together was like a massive tool because you're always around everybody.
Yeah.
Now, you guys, I think, are maybe one of the most prepared teams to ever race. At least it seemed that way. The only things that you really struggled with were like reading the clue a couple of times and stick shift, right? Was there one thing that you did in your preparation that you felt like that really paid off for us?
I think it's just the knowledge of the show. We went back, rewatched it together. We were able to talk about different scenarios, those hypotheticals, the what ifs. If we were in these situations, what would we do? And we took notes. We studied teams, what strategies worked for them, what things worked against them. And I think we had a really strong grasp on who Will and James were as a team. So I think that's really ultimately what paid off for us with our preparation.
Yeah, that level of communication, of talking through problems beforehand and understanding, like in race mode, having had that experience of watching the show, is super valuable for any team, because you already have that mindset of like, okay, there's pros and cons, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be more detailed than you think. So it helped a lot for us to have an understanding of the show.
Well, we are so excited for your win. We are so excited for your wedding. Congratulations all around.
Thank you.
Yay. Thank you so much for joining us and chatting with us. We appreciate
it. Of course.
you.
We have loved watching your guys' recaps all season long. As you know, we've joined in the live chat. We got to talk with you early on in the season. You guys are both wonderful. And just thank you so much for your kindness throughout the entire season.
Yes.
Oh, well, thank you. I was saying to Sarah before we jumped on that, you know, you guys are a big reason why things have happened for us this season, like our access to the cast and interviews like this. So thank you for being willing to come on the show early on, because that sort of paved the way for all of this. And we're really grateful.
Of course. We love you guys.
Yeah.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.